Welcome to New Answers Podcast, where a community of everyday people share solutions to life challenges based on our personal experience. We are moving through a series of conversations on spirituality as a means of finding solutions to life challenges. Spirituality is about making a connection to that higher power, whatever you call it, the source of all creation. We believe if we can find solutions to our individual life challenges through our connection to the higher power, then we can encourage others to make that connection. So that as a collective, we use that connection to find solutions to challenges beyond the individual, creating a beloved community, a world that works for everyone. We believe we will have the ability to, that we all actually have the ability to make that connection to our higher power. These conversations are featuring examples of connections made all the time that we may not even take notice of, and how we can intentionally plug into that higher power. We're calling this series of talks Nurturing Spirituality. Joining me on this spiritual path is Tiffany Lee. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Gwen. Thank you for having me again.
Yes. Previously, we had a general conversation about spirituality, and still to come, because there's a lot more to talk about, are conversations about intuition, or that knowing, what I think is that knowing that you have from the source of all creation. I think that's what intuition is, versus ego, and how to know the difference. And we also want to explore the emergence of new earth, and what does that mean? What does that look like? Out of body experiences, and more. Today, on this episode, this installation, we're going to explore the phenomena of deja vu. Deja vu. I think, and I've heard people talk about deja vu. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anybody knows exactly what it is, but we're going to share what we think what it is, and the experiences that we've had. So I've done a lot of talking. So Tiffany, do you want to share your experience of deja vu, and then I'll share mine, and then we'll kind of compare notes.
Okay, awesome. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine recently about deja vu as well, because she was like, "Oh, I have this deja vu experience," and um, and I told her that we're going to be doing this podcast on it, talking about what we think it is. Because it is super common. Um, I think all people have it. Well, all people, everyone has it. And no one really knows what it is, because even if you're not spiritual, you have that moment where you're like, ooh, I think I've been here before,
Yeah.
so I don't have it as much as an adult for some reason. I mean, I know that I tap in, I have a lot of gifts, I get visions and stuff like that, but deja vu as a child was just all the time on a regular basis. So I experimented with the deja vu as a child. So I remember I would have a thought. I could be doing whatever and I'd have a random thought come in my mind. And then I would purposely remember what I was doing, and the time of that thought, and then go on with my life. And then at a certain point in time when I would have the deja vu moment, I began to remember the moment when I had the thought. So, and it's just something I did as a child, so that when I would have a deja vu moment, I'd be like, oh, and I remember when I have the thought. So it wasn't like I'd been there before. I knew that I was gonna, it's kind of like a premonition of that moment. It was never anything major or important.
Huh.
Um, as most of the time it isn't, right? You can just be doing anything and be like, oh, deja vu. So some
Yeah.
people says it means you're on the right path. There's a lot of theories about it. I think one of my theories right now is that it's a timeline thing. Like we get a, well, obviously it's a form of a premonition, but maybe this is completely a theory that I'm coming up with right now. It feels good though, that um, it's a timeline premonition. Like you're getting a glimpse into a timeline. Okay, possibly, maybe at the moment when you have the thought, you're doing something that's setting you on a path, right? Because that's what a timeline is. You make decisions all day long. Like I could choose to go downstairs right now and something could happen and then sets it on a whole other path, my life, as opposed to you could choose to stay upstairs. So maybe it's that. I'm sorry. Um, maybe it's just a moment of choosing a path and then you get to see a glimpse, a premonition of a moment in time on that path.
Mhm. Yeah, I can relate to that. My experiences of deja vu, I think like you, it was more frequent when I was younger. Although I've had them as adults too, and it's not like you say, they're not any moments of great, an event of some kind.
Right,
It
right.
it's just I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like an everyday something happening every day. But I feel as if um, I have done this before, or that I've been in this moment before, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's coming next. And my feel, and I can't even right now, I can't even remember specific experiences, specific uh, incidences of that. But all I know is that it would happen. I don't know what's coming next. And my theory about it is that as we sleep, we're spiritual beings. And
Mm-hmm.
as we sleep, we become, I guess, unconscious, and our spirit travels.
Right,
It's about that time travel, that timeline that you're talking about. And our spirit travels, and we do these things, and it's like it travels into the future. And then when we awake, in our present time or whatever. And so we go about our lives. And then when that incident actually happens in real time, we have that momentary remembrance of it from having traveled to that
right,
that place, but still we don't know what's coming next. I don't understand. I don't know how to explain that. We don't know what's coming next, but we had traveled to that place in our unconscious sleep, and then as we awaken, we don't remember. Sometimes we remember it, I guess. Maybe we remember it as I don't remember it as dreams. I just remember it as when it happens in real time. Oh, I've done this before. I remember this situation, whatever you're wearing, the person that you're people you're around. But what comes next, I don't get. I don't.
right.
So it's interesting that there's that connect, the way you described it about the timeline and the way I describe it about the timelines, there's an intersection there, which I
Yeah,
find interesting. But it's
yeah,
how we get there, how we experience that deja vu is a little bit different. But I think still it's about our spirit doing some kind of time travel, right? Some kind of time travel, which I think is, and the fact that other people will have these experiences too, but we don't explore anymore. We may acknowledge it in the moment of a conversation, but we don't go beyond acknowledging that it happens, and that it happens um, among us more often than we talk about. I don't know why that is either. but that's why I think this conversation on spirituality is important, because I think the more we can talk about it, that other people can maybe identify it with it and relate to it, and that maybe there'll be more opportunities to explore, like, where is this coming from, and how is this
And what's the purpose of it, right?
and what, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
what's the purpose of it, and how can this be used in the world somehow, you know?
yeah, or for ourselves even, because
Or,
it's different than the vision. Like
yeah.
I get visions, right, of future times in my life. Like an
Oh.
example would be when my husband and I got divorced about a year prior.
Mhm.
I got a vision, and the vision, so it's not the exact same thing. This is where it's different than a deja vu. A deja vu is that exact second in time you like remember
Yeah.
from somehow coming to you before. My vision is um it doesn't correlate exactly like the moment. Like something will come in my vision and then I have a knowing of what it means. Um, and like I wouldn't be able to describe the vision and then it just comes with a knowing of what the vision means. Sometimes a minute or so later, or within the next 5 minutes or something, I'll get a download of like what the vision means. So it's
Mhm.
totally different than that, and
Mhm.
I use visions as like a way to give a warning or say life is happening this way or this is what's going to happen. But that's totally different than a deja vu. Like a deja vu is just a moment in time and you remember it. So there has to be like a reason. Like maybe it does mean like, okay, this is the chosen path and you're on it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe because, yeah, because I would like to, I'd like to know the reason that it happens, and but the fact that we're acknowledging the fact, that it does happen, and I think it does involve our spirituality somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and like our being is not just, oh, I don't know that I have words to describe it. But then how is that useful to our lives? Like, and maybe it is, um, as you were saying, that it is a signal that we are on the right path. That what we're doing is in alignment with where our life should be going. Um, but deja vu is just so, because, like I say, it's for me, it's been just kind of momentary, uneventful, like not big
It
crisis.
is. But what just came to my mind was the feeling you have with the deja vu is normally a good feeling, like
It,
energetic, right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's almost a kind of a reassuring,
Mm-hmm.
um, somehow comforting. I don't know why, but yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So maybe that therein it's showing you that you're on the right path because we have free will, we can take many paths. And
Mhm.
so maybe I'm gonna go with that because because it feels good. You're like, oh, deja vu. And it normally feels good, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And so the difference between like the deja vu and visions I get would be like the visions, honestly, half my visions are visions you don't want to come true. And I do
yeah,
know what's going to happen afterwards. It's a bigger moment in time. It's an actual path that like when this happens, your life is going to go this way.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. If so then, um, if we are, if that's an indication that we're on the right path, I guess that's how we would use, because in the deja vu moment, you don't know what's next. You just
Right.
I guess you're just, because I am never fearful of it. It
No.
doesn't give me any discomfort or fear at all. It's a somehow I feel reassured or comforted
hmm
that it's happened, but I haven't. been able to, and I guess this is the other thing, reason I think we should be having these conversations. Like, if we can find a way to harness it, or sort of use it to our benefit somehow, our individual benefit, maybe in the world benefit. I don't know if there's a way to do that. I mean, as we talk about this more, and people we talk to can connect with that, or relate to it, or resonate with it somehow, that we can explore it more, instead of just, we kind of shut down. I mean, we don't talk about it any beyond, oh, I'm having a deja vu experience, and then we just go on with our lives. But
Yeah.
is there an opportunity for us to harness, like, tap into that, whatever that energy is that has created this, that we can, although we don't have control over anything, right? It's the source of all creation that has control over our
Well,
lives.
so I believe that we're creators, right? But we're
Yeah,
co-creators.
co-create.
We're
Yes.
co-create. So
Yeah.
source, obviously, we're born with a purpose. We're born with a reason.
Yeah.
And we have free will in the sense that we can take paths.
Hmm.
I think that the more in alignment you are with source, the more likelihood you're going to be on the favored path of your purpose here on the planet. Um, so maybe that's it too. Maybe it's when you're more aligned, because also remember, like, time is a concept. So when you're aligned with source, and all time is happening at all the time,
Yeah.
and you align and get on that path. And like I said, would remember having a random thought. So I would say pay attention to that. Like, when you're out and about just doing things and you have a thought or a picture, I'm trying to remember how they come to me. I'm very, gosh, what's that clairvoyance. Like,
Right.
I get pictures. And so if you get a random picture of you at a time and you're like, oh, what's that about? Do what
Mhm.
I did as a child, like, just kind of go, okay, acknowledge it, you know what I mean? And try to remember it. So then when the deja vu happens, you can be like, ooh, I remember when I had that thought.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. I I would have. I'm trying to, because, like I say, I believe that these experiences happen because I have traveled in my unconsciousness to this point in time, and I guess I could write down that experience.
Dreams or whatnot. Yeah.
Here's the experience that I have that is deja vu for me. Yeah, maybe that's what we should do, huh? Is write that down, and then, because because like I said, I don't know what comes next, but maybe there will be, if, when having those experiences, we keep a journal of them, and maybe a pattern will present itself, as these things happen, and we write them down, and then we look over what's been written down over the space of whatever, however long it'll take, and see if there's a pattern there of some kind.
Right.
You know what I
Are
mean?
you still getting them enough to be able to look for the pattern?
No. I was just gonna say that, because it doesn't happen as often as it used
Yeah.
to. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens still, but it's just random and, sporadically. It's, I just don't have them as often as I used to, which is so interesting. So why would we have them as we're younger, as kids? You know what I mean? Is it because children are more open to
Yeah,
that?
probably. I would probably say that's true. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty open now that I'm studying and now that I'm nurturing my spirituality. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't get the deja vus that often. Maybe I'm not on my right path. I don't know.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, that could be. Maybe I'm not on the right path either.
no, I don't know.
It's not happening as frequently. Um, and I'm still trying to remember as we're talking, specific instances. I mean, I know
Mhm.
they're tiny. I mean, they're like, I don't know, somebody said something that just, I don't know, triggers that memory of having been there, having heard that. And it's
Right,
not like like a repetition of something. It's like, this was new. This was new at the time that I had, this, my spirit was traveling, whatever. And the other thing is, I believe that I'm traveling when I sleep because sometimes I wake up with and don't remember how I got them, and it may not necessarily be related to deja vu, but it's like related to your spirit traveling. I have like
oh,
scratches on my arm,
oh, really?
and maybe I did that in my sleep. I don't know, but it's like I don't remember how I would get a scratch. Like, and it's like, like on my back here. So it's not like, well, I don't know. I could have scratched myself, but I doubt it. Like something, I was traveling somewhere and maybe I was in like a thicket of bushes, and that's how, and I'm sleeveless or something. And that's how the scratch, that's what my imagination is thinking. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway, that
Well, there's astral,
it's off.
right? There's astral traveling, but it's your body stays there, and then your spirit goes and travels, which
Yeah.
I think you mentioned you have done that because you
Yes.
said you've left your body, you look down, you can see it. So you
Yeah.
definitely probably astral travel. I don't know how legit this is, but um, my friend Abby does say that when you leave your body, when your spirit leaves your body, another spirit can come in during that time.
Oh,
Um, so I have another friend that says that there's times when she wakes up and she's got bruises or other things that's happened to her body, and she's like, how is this happening at nighttime? So
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
whole other phenomenon that maybe we should just deep dive into
yeah. That is a
some
whole.
research. Yeah,
I don't. We'll go there later.
and another time.
Yeah, because I think I said in the opening that outer body experiences is
Hmm,
something that I think we want to explore too, and that may be related to this. What we're just now saying is probably more related to that conversation rather than the deja vu. Because
right,
I'm sort of contradicting myself saying that it's our spirit that travels. But if our spirit is traveling, why am I having like on my physical body, which is still sleep? Why is
right.
physical body then experiencing these scratches? That's a whole different phenomena, I think. So
Yeah,
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 but this is it's just fascinating to me that we do as humans are having these experiences. We don't talk about it. And I think that there's something there. Like and even scientists talk, well, maybe I shouldn't go there because I don't know for sure. These are all sort of like passing pieces of trivia information about, like you were saying, this astro, um,
projecting.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but it's interesting to me that there is some commonality among us humans that we just haven't taken the time, just even, not being experts ourselves, but just coming together and talking about these sort of shared experiences. We just gotta maybe acknowledge it in passing, and then we just go on with our lives.
yeah,
When I think there may be something there for us to tap into that might be of benefit to us as individuals, but as humans on this planet as a whole, that could help propel, humanity forward, and we're just not taking the time to do that exploration and to have these, conversations and begin, surfacely and then go deeper into it to figure out where could it be useful in our lives.
right.
I
Exactly.
think it can be useful in helping us, like you were saying, to uh, either acknowledge, but also reinforce the fact that we are on the good path, or we're not. You know, it's
Yeah.
a warning. Okay, uh, we need to reconnect. And again, I say, as I said in the introduction, that I think we all have this ability, because we certainly have had conversations about it with other folks. So we all, I think, have this ability, but let's explore that ability more and see how
Yeah.
it can be more useful to us.
I think that's where, meditating daily, the daily practice of meditating and aligning yourself with source. I study science of mind, which the belief is like we're all part of one mind, and you can tap in or you're detached from it, so you're either attached or detached, you're aligned. And when you are aligned, that's when you get a lot more phenomenon and coincidences, or that's where the miracles happen, right? Is when you're aligned. And that's a good way to know you're aligned, because you have a thought or a want, you put it out there, and you it doesn't have to be in a prayer, or it doesn't have to be, you know, anything like with a ritual. You could literally be like, gosh, I really need such and such, or I really want to know about such and such. And then you'll see all of a sudden, like, the answer will come, or someone will come in to your life and give you that answer. And um in those moments you probably will have more deja vu moments, or maybe at that point, because I was just thinking while we were talking, is I do pay attention to the thoughts that come into my head more, you know, and I pay attention to it right then and there. So when the experience actually happens, I do know what's going to happen afterwards, because in the forefront, when I have the thought, I pay more attention to that. I'll be like, oh, okay, why did I have that thought? And I'll think about it, and I may meditate on it, and I'll get an answer. So when the event happens, um, I do know what's going to happen. So maybe the reason why we don't get deja vu as much is because it is spirit talking to you and it being ignored. I don't know. It's another theory that's coming down right now. Um, I mean, source is with us all the time. Our
Yeah.
angels are with us all the time. Our guardians are with us all the time. And they are trying to communicate with us all the time. It's just we have to allow it, we have to accept it. So even there's times when we don't, um, if we're not paying attention to it, if we're not, you know, they're gonna use whatever they can to talk to us, because that's their assignment, to help us be on our be on our assignment
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me, because I think in our initial conversation we were talking about um, the connection to source. Source is everywhere, and and what I learned in the example that was given to me, and it's through science of mind as well, um, is that there is this source is like this current of electricity that runs through your house, right? And it's always present. And when you tap into it, when you plug in the lamp, when you plug in the toaster, that's where you get access to that electricity that allows whatever that device is to operate. And that was the sort of metaphor that I was taught, and that I kind of um, parrot, I guess, going forward, is that the source of all creation is always present, and it's up to us to tap into it, to get the guidance, and when we tap into it and follow the guidance, because we become the hands and the, you know, the, the workings of this source of all creation. And if that means we are in alignment, we would be in alignment with them. And then things happen, you know, things that are beneficial to our lives happen. When we
Hmm.
don't tap into that, when we are disconnected from it, then we are able to give our gifts, I guess is what we're trying to do too, when we tap into the source. To do that, to do that work that we're assigned to do. That's why our purpose for being here. And when we don't tap into that, that becomes, we become disjointed. I mean, not disjointed, but we're disconnected, right? And so our life then becomes a little more difficult. That's the hell that that's created on earth, because we haven't tapped into that source and
Right.
aren't guided, you know, to do, to the places and the things that we need to be doing, using our gifts and talents that we were given, to share with the world. So yeah, there was something else I wanted to say in connection with that. Oh, about sort of the good versus evil. I mean, I think that, you know, the source is all about, you know, doing good for the world, for the planet, I guess. and and the way that evil shows up is through those folks who haven't tapped into that source, who are disconnected, and who don't have the guidance that they need, and so that they are off on a path that's not beneficial to them, but certainly not beneficial to the rest of the world either. And but their lives become more difficult, and becomes that hell on earth. And so these conversations, I'm hoping we will be able to um, connect with more, with our source, help us to connect with our source. And we can talk about ways in which that happens, because it happens not
Right.
only with us, you know, our tapping into the source of all creation is, but uh, and that's done through, you mentioned meditation and other things, but that information comes to us in other ways too, that we
Hmm.
probably don't pay attention to. You know, like there are people, there are angels, we'll want to call them angels, but there are people out there that are giving us messages. You know, like when we
Right.
put out into the universe prayers or whatever, affirmations about our lives, and then and if we continue to tap into source and are in alignment with what is intended for us, our purpose, then the messages, that the things that will help support us starts to come into our lives. And those messages come from different places. And we could talk about that too.
Right. They do. I think that it's not that they start to come in, it's just
Uh-huh.
we begin to recognize it.
We recognize, we're
You
aware of it.
touched,
Yeah.
become aware of it. I'll tell you what happened one day last year. I think we talked about this because I had a meeting. I was trying to get home. I was rushing home,
Uh-huh.
and my GPS was telling me to get off the freeway. And so I was like, and I was going over a hill.
Mm-hmm.
So right before going over a hill, um, like a mountain, a long hill, a mountain, basically going up and over the mountain, and there wouldn't be another exit. So it kept telling me, get off the freeway, get off the freeway. And I was like, oh, maybe there's traffic coming. So GPS is telling me to get off so I could get there faster. So I got off the freeway, and then I'm driving the side road on the side of the freeway, and I can see that there's no traffic. Why am I off the freeway? Why did my
Hmm.
GPS tell me to do this? I was so frustrated because I was trying to get home for a
Yeah.
meeting, and then all of a sudden my brakes gave out, and I had to like pull over into the bushes on the side of the road to stop my car. So what would have happened if I didn't get off the freeway was I would have been on a downhill grade, basically with no brakes. And my brakes, they literally fell off my car. Like when the AAA came, he was like, whoever put your brakes on did it wrong or something like that. They literally fell off. Yeah.
God, Tiffany, that
I know.
could have been tragic.
Mhm.
Tragic. If you hadn't paid attention, if you hadn't listened. Oh my gosh. See, you are so. Here's another thing that I've been working on personally is being more aware, self-aware. I'm one who has I am not as connected to my emotions as some people are.
Mhm.
So and not so and it goes beyond, I guess, my own personal emotions. It probably expands out beyond that. So I'm working on being more self-aware in terms of what it is I am experiencing based on what's coming to me and how I am recognizing it and what my reaction is to it.
Right.
And so um, because I'm sure, I mean, I'm trying to think of experiences that I might have had, similar to you. And I know that they're there where,
Mhm.
messages, things have come to me that guided me in a correct way that gave me a good outcome. But I'm not thinking about it right now. I mean, it's like it's hard for me to dig that up because I'm just so not self-aware. I'm not self-aware, and I'm working on that for myself because that's connected to a lot of stuff. Like being, having whatever relationships that you have interpersonally with people,
Yeah.
with the connection to the higher power. So I'm trying to be more self-aware so that I can remember some of these experiences and how I reacted and responded to it. But yeah, that's a perfect example of how messages come to you in different ways that you need to be more aware of that
Yeah.
can help guide you on your path. I don't know how many people. I think a lot of people like take for granted. We like and they look at certain situations as, oh, this was a coincidence. Yeah,
Right.
this
Right.
caused, yeah, but it's. I don't know that. I think everything happens for a reason. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's a matter of us being conscious of it, aware
Conscious.
of it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and respond appropriately to what comes to us. So
Right.
it could be the GPS. It could be a stranger, saying some things to you that, like a message from that source, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to pay attention to and not say, oh, this is just coincidence or just take it for granted and go on about our business. I think it's all connected to the our purpose and
It is. And you become more aware of it when you basically make the agreement with them, like I'm open to see you, I'm open to hear you, I'm open to work with you, you know. And I have to be better about that too, is consciously reminding myself to speak with, source, to speak with your angels, to speak with your guardians, and when incidents like that happen,
mhm.
thank them. It's not just a coincidence. Like literally my angels took over my phone and the directions and told me to get off the freeway. And I do, since that happened, I do listen to that quite often. Like because a lot of people be like, why is my GPS giving me these crazy directions? And they want to ignore it. Then your initial egos can say, you know how to get there, ignore that. There's something wrong with the phone, right? Um,
Yeah, That's what
And
I would have done. I'm telling you. I'm
and
so
I did ignore it. It kept telling me to get off the freeway.
Mhm,
It was telling me every exit, get off, get off, get off. And I was like,
mhm,
why am I, why are they telling me, why is my phone telling me to get off? And then I was like, there must be an accident up ahead and it's
mhm,
rerouting me to go around it.
mhm,
So I finally got off when I knew it was the last opportunity for me to get off before I went over that mountain pass.
mhm.
And then as I'm driving, I was like, there's no traffic. Why did I get off? You know, and then a little bit after that is when my brakes went out, you know. And it was too obvious that they literally saved my life. So of course I was like, thank you, God, thank you, angels, you know, because it was I literally had no brakes. I would have gone downhill. That would have been no way out of that situation that I could see.
Right,
You know?
right,
So,
right.
and I can say that I I do recognize multiple times angels have saved my life. Like so I am I am used to them. I have a friend that used to be like, "Man, your guardian angels are overworked." I was like, "I know." And so I say thank you on a regular basis. Thank you for the times I know and thank you for the times I don't know. And I don't argue with the path anymore. You know, if you're rushing to get someplace. And if it's my fault, I just took too long to get dressed, it's on me. But if I feel like I left with plenty of time and now I'm in all this traffic or I'm behind these things, and you have to say, okay, thank you for what you're saving me from, you know? Because if I'm meant to be there at a certain time, I would be there. I'm working in alignment with source and my angels and the spiritual world to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So it's surrendering to that thought though. That's a daily job to surrender to that thought. But the more you do it, the more you will.
Yeah.
And yeah. And you mentioned you're not so in touch with your feelings. I have a ritual for that. So that's another day that will help that to and I know that you've had some tragedies in your life, and especially as a child. So sometimes what happens is our souls kind of like we leave a soul path. We leave parts of our souls in different timelines. And so you can go through a meditation and reconnect with the different um, parts of your soul that you left during those tragic times. And that opens you up more. And then there's also opening up your chakras, you
Mhm.
know. And so there's meditations where you can do that as well. So those are things we could talk about in other podcasts.
Wow. So can you see how these conversations, as we kind of unravel, like we pull one thread and something else presents itself for us to talk about and explore. This is, yeah. So we'll be talking about this. This series will go for a while, I think. And you had mentioned. I mean, I guess we started out talking about deja vu, but we've gone into sort of out of body experiences and listening to different ways in which messages are coming to us and being able to tap into it, intentionally. So those are things that will be subjects of future conversations coming up, making distinctions between intuition and ego. I mean, I think that's a big conversation to have.
That's a big conversation, yeah, to be had.
But I do want to know what techniques we can use. And I think, folks listening to this may want to know that too. Like, what are the techniques? And I've heard the term technologies that are available to us that we can intentionally tap into, having that connection with source as well. So, if you connected at all with anything that was said today, what you've heard today, we want to hear from you. Put it in the comments section. Subscribe to us so that we know that there is folks out there that are interested in hearing more about this. And then share this with your friends and family, because I'm sure some of the conversations that you're hearing now between Tiffany and I are probably conversations that you may have had too, sort of on the low key, what is it, down low, whatever it is, like because you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm a little weird or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. I think that there's more of this happening among more of us that we're just not talking about, and now we want to bring that out into the open and be able to connect with each other. And connecting with us can be through the subscription, subscribe to us, and then also leave some comments in the comment section, and we'll bring that up in future conversations that we have. Um, any final thoughts for this episode, Tiffany?
No, I think that I feel like we covered it pretty well. Obviously, it leads into other things, but yeah, I would just want to say, um, I'd love to know what you guys think about your deja vus. I know it's something that everyone has explored, and if you have explored it more, give us your thoughts on that for sure.
Yes. And look forward to the conversations, as I said, on the topics that we began to touch on towards the end of this conversation. So until next time, I'm Gwendolyn Flynn,
I'm Tiffany Lee.
and we'll see you next time. Have a great week.